Alright, so what exactly might be on tomorrow's test? Christian, a question?
What exactly will be on tomorrow?
Wait, I'm not ready.
I thought you might ask that.
I'm really mad.
Okay.
Wait.
The first thing is don't be particularly concerned about review questions, because you might remember the class average on the last test was like a 90 or something ridiculous, so there are no real
How is that ridiculous?
review questions. Well, just everyone got, that was like 8 tests ago. The only possible, like, where we could dip into review questions are like, you know, which of these is true about the Nazis and not the communists, which of these is true about the communists and not the Nazis, etc., because the Cold War is half about communists. Otherwise, it's all sort of new. But the one thing I would warn you about is, remember we had the odd April break where we sort of finished World War II, but then we did like the aftermath after the test. So I would look in your last page or two of World War II notes for the following stuff. The little bit on the Holocaust, like that war crimes chart, the final solution, etc., etc. The civilian bombings, Dresden, Tokyo, etc., etc. The atomic bombings and the arguments of each side, why to use the bomb, why not to. And the Nuremberg trials, where we tried to like have it all make sense. And the other thing is that thing that you guys all mocked, where I had you get up and half of you were the Russian army and half of you were the British and the American army and a few of you were Germans left. I would say that there could easily be an essay question on that. At the end of World War II, from which directions were the British coming, the Russians coming, the Americans coming? Which side, why was Berlin important? Which side got to Berlin first? Why did this side get there first? How did this side getting to Berlin affect a lot of the post-war world, etc., etc.?
No, you can't.
So I would definitely review your sort of last days of World War II notes from a variety of angles. Even though we had a World War II test, we'll sort of, the start of the test will be very much cleaning up the loose ends. Then I would say there will be a Ceausescu, or there will be a, a lot of Cold War from like the start of the Cold War to Ceausescu being shot, like where we were today.
Who's that?
I don't know, I don't think we studied him. So, stuff to study. We didn't have a lot of primary sources except the book, and I can't really give you the book. But Dubček, I would certainly look at that primary source of his life after Prague Spring was ended. Perhaps that thing on clothes and so on, though that one's pretty self-explanatory. But how it took her like 6 months to build a coat, and then she would keep that coat for 15 years and stuff like that. Then there'll be, I would certainly know your map of Eastern Europe. I would know that very, very closely. Where is the Iron Curtain? Where are the Warsaw Pact countries? Or sorry, the map of all of Europe. Where are the Warsaw Pact countries? Where are the NATO countries? Name a Warsaw Pact country. Name a NATO country, etc., etc. So I would know your map of Eastern Europe, your Dubček primary source, your clothes primary source. And then the last thing you might be asked to know is, in like the essays, is like, name every Russian leader between 1900 and 1999 and tell me one thing that happened. Like I wouldn't make you know like Chernenko or the Andropov or the dead guys. But I would certainly be able to put in order from even before Lenin. Like I would know the last Tsar, the first communist ruler, the second communist ruler, you know, the third communist ruler. So I would know, you know, all the big ones and be able to name stuff that happened during them. That Russia.
100 years. I don't even know that in America. Can you repeat the years? Yeah.
The 20th century, 1900 to 1999.
Are you kidding?
Can you
Um,
tell us the leaders?
Well, who was the one in 1900? Would you say, Rachel? Who do you think, Eve? Nicholas II, or Nicholas the Tsar. What's one thing that happened during him, Ronnie?
Bloody Sunday.
Bloody Sunday, the Russo-Japanese War. He was overthrown, but don't say the Bolshevik Revolution. Anyone remember the guy who led for 6 months? Kerensky. I don't know, that would be a hard one. Who succeeded Kerensky?
Lenin.
One thing that happened during Lenin, Roshni?
The NEP.
Good. Succeeding Lenin, Christian? Succeeding Lenin? One thing that happened during him, Varun? Another one, Avni. The famine. The purges.
Oh, you're talking about Stalin?
Yes, because I said
I
Stalin.
recorded some.
World War II. The start of the Cold War. Alright, after Stalin, Avnit.
Khrushchev.
One thing that happened during Khrushchev. Sarah. Good. Repressing the Hungarians, de-Stalinization, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Just nod like you vaguely remember these bad boys.
Is there someone with a B?
After Khrushchev is someone with a B. Chris. One thing about Brezhnev. Somya, who couldn't understand those Communist Museum postcards today. Go
I
ahead.
can understand one. I understood toilet paper more. Okay. Brezhnev.
Don't
Had a
look at
weird
your
wave.
What?
It's wave.
Okay, bad wave will probably not get you full credit. Sean.
They have awful secret police.
Okay, the really bad secret police who were following around Dubček, and he was talking to them like, hey, as the secret police, would you mind giving me a ride to work? Go ahead.
He was doing drugs.
Okay, he wasn't really doing like cocaine, but he was addicted to sleeping pills. Yes, the sedatives. Yes. The Brezhnev Doctrine, the repression of Prague Spring, détente and the SALT agreements, and the repression of solidarity. Does this ring a bell for any of y'all?
We're getting the best close-up of your face right now.
Do any of you remember that? All right.
Wait, it's real. Can you do
After
it again?
Brezhnev, not counting Andropov or Chernyenko, Nikita. Good. One thing that happened during Gorbachev, Nikita.
Something.
Good, nailed it. Something. It's gonna be like 4 more minutes. Sean.
Reforms.
Reforms, Glasnost, Perestroika, giving Eastern Europe their freedom. We didn't study that, did we?
So you
I'm
seem
being
to think that we
sarcastic. All right. After Gorbachev, go ahead.
Yeltsin.
One thing about Yeltsin:
Democracy.
democracy, poor economy. After Yeltsin, though now we're getting 21st century, so it's almost more current event than it is a history test, so it's barely fair. But go ahead. Putin ends the democracy, becomes a dictator again. All right. Yeah, those are serious. Oh, order of events. And last time, period 6 had the harder order of events, but this time I've adjusted. So if you just get some of them right, no, it's all or nothing. I love that joke.
Wait, can we
Okay.
can we have the easier one?
No, it doesn't look that way.
Wait, it's time. You have to.
I think 2 more minutes, Grills.
1.
I think period 6. Let's put it this way. There's 2 possibilities. One possibility is a vague sort of.
So we're not having multiple choice?
No. Actually, period 4. I think we'll get the harder one.
Yes.
Or period 2. I mean, one sort of one is all in the 80s. Like it starts with crushing solidarity, the death of Brezhnev, and then Gorbachev.